So Ohio State's 2-0 heading into its first bye week. I'm Stephen Means. That's Stefan Krajisnik. That's Andrew Gillis. And so let's talk about it. We've seen them play two Mid-American Conference teams. They've scored 50-plus in each game and only given up 6 points. Let's start with the offense and what we've seen through 8 quarters. Stefan, what's the most important thing you've learned about Ohio State's offense?
This offensive line is maybe pretty decent, right? We were pretty harsh on them at the start of that Akron game and kind of the way they performed. And I know I'd said, I kind of felt they got better as the game went on. They set a tone in this Western Michigan game. I mean, Serval had a play early in the game where he took a guy to the sideline. They brought in 4 tight ends and, had a rushing touchdown on that first drive. It feels like the bigger bodies on his team kind of set a tone early in this one against Western Michigan. And I walk out of it thinking, all right, when they play Marshall, Donovan Jackson's going to be back. That's what Ryan Day said post-game. And I'm feeling pretty decent about that unit, right? And we had said that the offensive line was going to either make or break the national title aspirations for this team. Well, I'm walking out of this game feeling pretty confident that if Ohio State, when they get to that stage, when they get to that point and are facing the Georgias of the world, that this offensive line can hold up. And you've also got a quarterback that, as long as this offensive line's all right, he can make plays with his legs and extend plays a little bit. So I walk out of this game thinking the one area where we were pretty concerned somewhat still with this offense, they cleaned it up and looked a lot sharper with a game under their belt and looked pretty good against Western Michigan.
Andrew, 2 games in, what's the most important thing you've learned about this offense?
That they're channeling the ghost of Sam Hinkie, and the process is correct. I'm not saying that they're going to win the national championship game. I'm not saying that the offensive line's going to win the Joe Moore Award and Jeremiah Smith is going to win the Bolitnikoff and the running backs are going to win the Doak Walker, one of them. I'm not saying that Will Howard's going to be. I'm not going to do any of that right now. However, what we saw in the first 2 games is that they are aggressive. Stephen mentioned it in one of our other videos. He got very fired up about it. They're not playing to lose. Like, they're not playing scared. He mentioned the Michigan game last year where you play for the field goal. They're playing aggressive, and that is important to me offensively. When you run the ball, there's a purpose to running the ball. I asked Seth McLaughlin this. He was like, well, we script out our first couple plays, and you see that there's a lot of run plays on it, and you're like, oh, so this is what we're going to do today. And they went out and did that. Again, as I said in another video, against the G5 team. So we will see. Iowa, I know they can't score points, but they got a really good defense. Who knows what's going on with Oregon, Penn State, Nebraska, Michigan. You got still good teams left on this schedule to varying degrees. So I do want to wait and see about all that. But even if it doesn't go right, like even if the offensive line is this team's Achilles heel and it burns you late in the year or it burns you in the playoff or something like that, it's just going to be because the other team was better. That is what I have learned through these first 2 games, is that they are taking the right approach. The process is correct. They are, like Will Howard, throwing the ball away when he has to, making correct decisions. He's not going to kill you in the game. That is exactly what Will Howard needs to be. The running backs, they're splitting them up. They're doing exactly what they need to do. The offensive line, again, Akron kind of shaky. Today really good. They did exactly what they needed to do today against Western Michigan. There's a lot of things that you could point to about this offense that are good, that are bad, that need improvement, that have improved, but they all have an underlying theme, and it is that they are doing things the right way through the first 2 weeks of the season.
I'm saying that Jeremiah Smith's going to win the Bolitnikoff. Listen, man, I'm done not being hyperbolic about this kid. This kid's amazing. I'm done. I'm done not doing it. I wrote this at halftime. Ohio State did everything Ryan Day asked it to do. Everything. They wanted a quicker start. They were up 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. You wanted to see better push from your offensive line? You just mentioned it, Stefan. You got better push from your offensive line. You want your defense to be a little bit more aggressive? Shut out. Foundation is the word I'm using there. It's G5 schools. I get it. But at the same time, there are some schools who struggled with G5 schools. So we can't just go, it's just G5, when the MAC was kind of poking at the rest of the Power 4 conferences all week, except for Kent State. Foundation was built through these first 2 games. I think they were used the right way. Now you got to get Donovan Jackson healthy. Cody Simon gets a chance to get healthier. Denzel Burke got knocked out of the game because of a targeting call. The good thing is he's going to miss 15 minutes of football because it was in the first half. And what did it do? It gave you a chance to get Jermaine Matthews more first-team reps. What have we seen the first 2 weeks? Them rotating all over the place. Receiver, offensive line, defensive line. I swear, it's a new four down front every time I look at the defense. The linebackers are rotating. Arvell Reese apparently is a stud. The secondary, basically everywhere but safety and quarterback, they have rotated guys. That's because you don't rotate your quarterback. And at safety, maybe there's still a huge drop-off between where Caleb Downs and Lathan Ransom are and then where the rest of the room is. They played 4 quarterbacks against Western Michigan. You guys asked me how many quarterbacks are you going to say today? Maybe 2. They played 4, and 2 of them scored touchdowns. Foundation was built through these first 2 games, which I think was the best you could ask for in these first 2 games. Now you take a week off, you regroup, you see what you liked, you see what you don't like, you get some guys healthy, and then you hit the home stretch for that Marshall game when you get back where you've got Marshall, and then Big Ten play starts. And obviously, Oregon's kind of weird right now, but that's still the big game on everybody's schedule right now. And so foundation, I keep saying it, but that's the word. I think they use these 2 games to do exactly what needed to be done. Now let's see how they look when we get back for the Marshall game, and now they can really get into it, and we can see how much more we see from this offense, because it felt like this offense built on itself for the last 2 weeks, and the same thing with this defense. We'll continue to have this conversation on Buckeye Talk, and get the text 614-350-3315. Steven, Andrew, Stefan, Ohio State. See you in 2 weeks.